How's it going, everyone? I am the one and only Kaiju Sage. Welcome back to a new video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing something relatively simple. We're going to be talking about Incursion and the ways in which I feel that it fell short and can be improved if, assuming that they leave it in the game. Because of late, there's been a trend where they're starting to delete older leagues. And believe it or not, Incursion is one of those older leagues. It actually came out in 2018, believe it or not. That was 4 years ago. June, to be exact. I made a note off to the side over here for myself. It's crazy to me, but anyway. So we're going to be talking about Incursion. This will potentially be a start of a series where I talk about previous league mechanics and ways that I believe that they can be improved upon or could have been improved upon at the very least. And I just want to express my thoughts about them and talk about the previous league mechanics, good or bad, for better or for worse. So let's get into it, starting with Incursion. So Incursion, for those that don't know, I'm going to give a brief, quick little rundown. As you can see on the screen, I've got the temple layout pulled up, and you get this by, one second, let me actually tab back into that. You talk to 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿, the Master Explorer. She's one of the masters who, once you unlock the end game, the map device, you meet her in Act 7, I believe, when you're playing through the campaign. And once you get to the end game, you will see this menu where areas will contain incursions to the Temple of 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿. This is Incursion. The incursions into the temple. There you go. You get these every day, and then based off clearing maps and stuff. And then when you actually have done enough of them, you will go to her and you hit View Temple, and then it will have down here, instead of incursions remaining, it'll have an open temple. That's once you've done 12 incursions. Each map has 3, or each area has 3 incursions. No matter what, you always get 3, and basically, when you walk up to her in the map, you are given an option. You are given the option to pick one of 2 things. So it will highlight one of these rooms, and it will say on one side you can upgrade it, and on the other side you can change it entirely to a different room type. So you have to go and defeat the architect on the one side to upgrade it, or you go to the other side to change it to an entirely different room type. There you go. That is the easiest, fastest breakdown of what it is without going into any crazy specifics. And as you can see, if you do it in game and you actually interact with it, you can just hover over each room type to see what they do when you interact with all of it. This one is the gems, so it's a chest full of skill gems, support gems. That's what that is. The vault is just chests of currency, so wisdom scrolls, portal scrolls, chaos, etc., chaos orbs, jewelers, etc. All the orb types and everything like that can fall out of these. Warehouses is just random assortments of items. You get the idea. So, what am I actually talking about now? With that out of the way, I just wanted to give a quick rundown of what it is in case somebody has never touched Incursion. I myself, until making this video, didn't realize I didn't even have all of it in my hideout currently because I haven't interacted with Incursion in... I couldn't even tell you when the last time I interacted with Incursion is, honestly. So, why is that? What is wrong with Incursion? I wanted to give a quick rundown of what it is so that we have context for everything that I'm about to talk about. So, the last thing that I do need to talk about, I almost forgot to mention it. Up here, this will become relevant in a minute, and I don't have one of those chambers that I meant to make sure that I had, but it's fine. The apex of 𝙀𝙀𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿 is the boss room. Every temple you clear, no matter what, you walk up and you fight this thing. You can kind of see its picture. It's a little bit faded because this room is not connected. But that thing in the background is called the architect. I forget. I think it's like the architect of 𝙀𝙀𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿 or something like that. And it is something that you fight. It's the boss of each instance, each temple you run. And most people don't even do it because there's just no point other than it can rarely drop these vials of blood, and there's I can't remember the exact number. We'll say 5. We'll say there's 5 different random vials of blood, and only one of them is actually worth anything because it can transform certain items into a rarer, more powerful version of itself. And that's the only reason why you would ever kill that boss ever. It has no drops on it that I'm aware of other than those vials of blood that actually matter. So, all that out of the way, all that how it works, what is wrong with it? Well, I mean, for starters, it's old. And now it is somewhat not terribly outdated. It's not like where they had to delete Beyond because it was just, in this current league, they deleted the Beyond League and replaced it with Scourge, because effectively Beyond was just Act 2 Bandits reskinned. They even said it in the trailer of the 3, are we in 318, 319? I don't remember. The current league, the Lake of Kalandra League, they had to delete that because it was just so old and wonky looking that they wanted to replace it. So, what are some ways in which they can improve it? They can more modernize Incursion and make it a little less obtuse, shall we say. One of the ways that I think they could do this is by making it a little less menu intensive. At current, when you walk up to 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿 in a map, you have to walk up to 𝙀𝙓𝙃, click on 𝙀𝙓𝙃, and then it will show you a little map, a little map square of the temple, and it'll show you the left side and the right side, and say, it'll tell you basically which two, what your 2 options are for that room, upgrade or change. And you can hover over it to see what it'll upgrade into, what it will change into, and then you have to actually go in. But you have to click 𝙀𝙃𝙃, hover over both options, hit enter temple, and then you actually go into the area, and then you run around and kill things. It's very disorienting. It's very distracting. Whereas I think if they would do a slight little UI touch or something where they make the menu a little bit better, a little bigger, it pops up and it's like it shows you, like a little, they can make a little graphic on either side, and it'll say, would you like to upgrade the room or change the room? And then you have the option to enter temple. On either side, it'll just say enter temple, and if you click I would like to, I don't know exactly how they can do it, but I would like to upgrade the temple or I would like to change the temple, and it could lean you a little more towards one side, and then you're not having to, I think they already have an enter temple button on that map now, but it still feels a little, I don't know, a little lackluster. You still have to walk up to 𝙀𝙃𝙃, click enter temple, do all this stuff. It feels kind of bad. But that's just the UI of it all. Let's talk about my biggest complaint that I have ever had with this league. There's 2. But they kind of run hand in hand. So what I was saying a minute ago, I forgot to make sure that my current temple had an apex of ascension, or a room of ascension. What that does is, let's say this antechamber were to be a apex of ascension. This antechamber that I'm hovering over with my mouse, each connected room to it would be raised a tier. So this warehouse would be a tier 3 warehouse. This department of thaumaturgy would go up to the tier 3 room. This would be tier 2, tier 2. These would both become tier 2 rooms. And even in Incursion League, I could not wait. When I saw the trailers, I was like, there's going to be a tier 4 room. There is going to be a tier 4 room. I cannot wait to find out what those tier 4 rooms do. So I went in, ran so many incursions, finally got to the point where I had some connected tier 3 rooms, had the Apex of Ascension connected to them, everything was ready, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. So I was just like, oh, so they just didn't do this. This very relatively easy thing to do that would have made this system so much more in depth, so much more rewarding and impactful. Like, imagine that for a minute. Imagine you put in the work, you run into the temple, you have upgraded all of these rooms, you have carefully done the best that you can because it does randomly choose. So there's a lot of RNG involved of which rooms you even get to upgrade. So let's say you run enough incursions and you finally get the tier 3 vault connected to an apex of ascension, and it becomes, something like the heart of the vault, something like that. Just some, obviously they didn't do this because then they have to make layouts for each of these rooms for a tier 4 area, and they have to make new versions, and there's a lot of time crunchiness, and I'm sure that's probably what it ran into. They were pushing up against deadlines and so on and so forth. But I think that is the main depth that is lacking from Incursion. I think for me, that is the number one biggest disappointment, followed by number 2. This is called the Temple of 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿. You are doing the Temple of 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀, the apex of 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀. This name keeps coming up over and over and over again. Why don't we get to fight 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀? Why is the architect of the Vol like this weird nebulous little, I don't even know what shape that to call that. The four-sided diamond, is it a rhombus? I don't know. Whatever it is that just rotates and fires lasers. Like, is it kind of cool the first time you see it? Yeah, kind of. But after you've fought it a couple of times, you're like, okay, well, it's a cube, it's a square. It just fires some lasers, but it's just a square. It's not an interesting, iconic boss. Like, if you fight 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿, you remember what 𝙀𝙓𝙃 looks like. If you fight the Shaper, if you fight the Elder, these are figures, these are names that you were like, yes, these are cool, iconic bosses. If I fight the square of 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀, I'm kind of left sitting there like, well, then where the fuck is 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀? Where is he? Where is or she? Where is the actual 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀 boss? And again, like I said, it comes back into the apex of ascension. Why is the room of ascension, when connected to the boss room, not making this an actual 𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀 fight? That is another improvement I would suggest. These two things. Make tier 4 rooms that are immensely rewarding to this league mechanic. If you finally manage to put together a tier 3 room next to an apex of ascension, make a tier 4 version of each room of Incursion. Assuming you are not going to delete Incursion from the game for a long time or ever, and you want to make it still feel relevant, make a higher tier content type for each of these rooms. A tier 4 strongbox chamber, for instance, could guarantee you 1 to 2 unique strongboxes and have the rest be rare and corrupted. A vault, a tier 4 vault. You can just literally put more chests in it. Like, you don't have to do anything crazy for this one. For warehouses, you could maybe have a chest that guarantees like a a league specific unique. It doesn't have to necessarily guarantee you anything good in that regard. Like, there's a lot of league specific uniques, as we have found in the game whenever there's those little reliquary keys and stuff, but it's still there. It's still an interesting option. Oops, bumped the mic, sorry. And then, you just have these options. And then if you connect an apex of ascension, or to the boss room, If you connect it to the boss room, why does it not let you fight 𝙀�プ𝙋𝘼𝙉? Please design an actual 𝙀𝙁 boss fight. That would make Incursion have an added layer of, what do you call it? An added layer of chase content to it. You get an 𝙀𝙁 boss fight, you need to make it drop powerful, impactful uniques, by the way. At least 1 to 2. Please continue this trend, as we saw with the Eater of Worlds and with the Searing Exarch. What makes people actually want to run that content? The Ashes of the Stars and the Crystallized Omniscience. Those 2 amulets are chase items that drop specifically and only from bosses, which encourages people to then run that content. Do more of this. I'm going to make an entire video talking about this subject in particular, that drop-only uniques need to be brought back into the game and need to be brought back into relevance. But again, I'll make an entire video talking about that later on in the next week or 2 or so. But these changes to Incursion are easy. These, make tier 4. Okay, I say they're easy. They obviously will take dev time that they probably don't have. But if you want Incursion to feel relevant, then it's much easier than just, axing it from the game entirely, or, having to build an entirely new mechanic to replace it. So you have, tier 4 rooms, the boss fight, and then just an overall rebalancing of how you interact with the mechanic, maybe make some additional UI changes, make some functionality of the way you enter the temple, so that it's a little bit less clunky to just have to walk up, click on Alva, hover over your temple, and just look at it and take a few seconds, and then click enter temple, and then you actually get to the gameplay of running around, killing everything, and opening doors and everything else. These things are, all of these things are ways in which it can be improved and fixed in my mind. But, maybe you disagree. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let me know if you have any other suggestions and ways that you feel Incursion could be improved upon and made better, assuming, of course, that it's actually going to stay in the game. Because, as I said before, they've been cutting Beyond, they cut Prophecy, they cut Parandus. They're slowly cutting out a bunch of leagues, so who knows what'll happen in the future. But again, let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear from you, and if you comment down below, I might just give it a little heart. So hey, thank you. If you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it, and I hope to see you all in the next video, and have a great day.